Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, my goodness. Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn. His heat is gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance. Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. Ja Morant. Insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Grizzlies win edition. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies won their third straight by taking care of business and overwhelming a disinterested Charlotte Hornets team. It was just the kind of relaxing, comfortable blowout win over a bad team you wanted, except, of course, for the frightening injury of Jaylen Wells. The Grizzlies lose Jaylen Wells, I'm guessing, for this season, due to a fractured wrist. There's no official injury update as of my recording on early Wednesday morning, April 9th. But Jaylen has posted from the hospital. He posted a Go Grizz photo. They have reported that he broke his wrist. His agent reported that. His dad actually posted stuff about him being awake and aware last night. So the horribly frightening injury scare and then the actual injury for Jaylen Wells, the big storyline overshadowing what was otherwise an easy, comfortable win. So on today's brief episode, let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the rotation without Jaylen Wells. And of course, we will take a peek at the standings, and let's get right into it. Losing Jaylen Wells is a big blow for the Grizzlies because he was one of the 8 main guys in the rotation. And he was one of the only wings that seemed to be a certainty. In that 8-man rotation, you had 4 guards that you felt pretty good about. I mean, you feel great about Ja and Desmond, and then you've been feeling good about Scottie Pippen playing so well, and then Luke Kennard. That's 4 of your 8 guys, and then the rest of it, of your main rotation, is big men. You had Jaren and Zach Edey and Santi Aldama. That's 7 players, and then Jaylen was the 8th. Losing your one wing who was dependable and available, Jaylen hasn't missed a game this entire year. He played in all 79. He's been the starter since the opening week. So now there's a hole. Once again, you are shorthanded, even more shorthanded. You're going to need Vince Williams Jr. to step up and play well. You're going to probably need John Conchar to step up and play well. Maybe Gigi Jackson gets his opportunity. If there is any small silver lining, it's that hopefully with this opportunity, Vince or Gigi will seize the opportunity and pay off on that promise that they showed last season. But that's a small silver lining. This is mainly bad news. It's bad for Jaylen, who has to end his very successful rookie campaign this way, and it's bad for the Grizzlies. Now, the play itself, we don't need to litigate it very much. Of course, it was a dirty and dangerous play by KJ Simpson. KJ Simpson has expressed his remorse over and over. I think he immediately, of course, felt horrible about the play. He felt guilt for the severity of which Jaylen Wells was injured. He has since reached out on social media, says he's talked to Jaylen, and he's apologetic and just feels sick about it, and he's praying for Jaylen Wells' recovery. But it was a scary, dangerous play, and I think the relief for all of us is that Jaylen Wells is going to be okay. I think the fears that happen in a situation like that, you worry about all kinds of very serious traumatic injuries. So when you find out, all right, it's a wrist fracture, and he cut his head, his face is swollen. All those things are bad, but it's better than what a worst case scenario could have been. So going to the game, The highlights from the game. I mean, this was a comfortable win. You played good defense, but this is a tanking team you were playing. The Hornets have been, I'll say, one of the more embarrassing teams all season, and they didn't really compete in this game. But Ja carried the way, and also Zach Edey. Ja Morant had 28 points. Highlight dunks. Ja was awesome in this game with 28 points, 8 assists, and 0 turnovers. Just his second 0 turnover game of the year. And then Zach Edey had a monster game. Zach Edey followed up his 21 rebound performance against the Pistons with 19 more rebounds. He had 17 points and 19 rebounds. Some of the fun stats about this: he now, of course, has 40 rebounds over his last 2 games. He has 67 rebounds over his last 4 games. He's the first rookie to hit those numbers, 40 rebounds over a 2-game span, 67 rebounds over a 4-game span, since Shaquille O'Neal in 1993. In the 6 games since Tomas Isalo became head coach, Zach is averaging 13.7 rebounds per game. That even includes the game against the Celtics where he was in foul trouble and barely posted any stats. Some of the interesting numbers about Zach Edey. So I think with the firing of Taylor Jenkins and with the hiring or the promotion, the naming of Isalo as interim coach, there's been a lot made about Ja Morant's role in the offense. And I'm trying to figure out how much of this is a coaching change, how much of this is a stylistic change. And then you think about the usage of Zach Edey. And I'm wondering, well, if Brandon Clark had, he got hurt. So if Brandon Clark wasn't available and Taylor Jenkins was forced to use Zach Edey more, how much different would it have been? And there are some illuminating numbers that you can point to, like obviously the number of ball screens are up for the Grizzlies, but looking at some of the stats just when it comes to Zach Edey and also when it comes to Ja Morant under Isalo, with Edey's numbers, it is, I think, noticeable that even beyond the increased playing time, that some of his stats are up, and maybe we could point to the sometimes criticized stat of screen assists. Like, yes, the rebounds are way up. Since Isalo came head coach, again, 13.7 rebounds per game, but some of that is just opportunity, and some of it is opponent. The Pistons only had Isaiah Stewart playing because Jalen Duren was out. They went small a lot. The Hornets had Mark Williams, who's a big guy, but Zach had his way with him. And then like Moussa Diabate, he's undersized. The Hornets didn't have the horses to hang with Zach Edey. So he's compiling these big stats. But the one biggest, most notable stat is the screen assist. I was trying to figure this out. So before the All-Star break, let's just do pre-All-Star, post-All-Star. Before the All-Star break, Edey was averaging about 21 minutes per game and was averaging 2 screen assists per game. Since the All-Star break, he's up to 2.5 screen assists per game. That's not the biggest jump, just a half screen assist per game. But, of course, that's a 25% increase. But if you narrow it down into a smaller sample size, and also the problem with this is, of course, it's a very small sample size. But if you narrow it down to just the 9 games since Brandon Clark was unavailable, well, his minutes per game have increased by 3. He's up to almost 24 minutes per game. And he's now at 3.3 screen assists per game. So that's 3.3 screen assists per game in the 9 games since Brandon Clark left the rotation. In the 54 games before then, 2 screen assists per game. But if you do want to narrow it down to just 6 games under Tomas Isalo, we're talking about 26.6 minutes per game. So an increase in the minutes and opportunity, but 4.8 screen assists per game, leading to nearly 12 points generated off of those screen assists per game. The big bullet point we can repeat, the stat you might want to share with friends: since Taylor Jenkins was fired, Zach Edey is 3rd in the NBA in rebounds per game, 5th in the NBA in screen assists per game, and also 7th in the NBA in blocks per game. That's among all players who've played at least 4 games since March 29th. If you want to make it sound even more impressive, just do total rebounds, blocks, and screen assists Zach's played 6 games since March 29th, which is more than a lot of people. So you could say Zach Edey, since Tomasi Salo was named interim head coach, Zach Edey is 3rd in the NBA in rebounds, blocks, and screen assists. There's your soundbite. But they absolutely are using Zach Edey. It feels like in a more traditional way, even if he did get up a couple of 3-pointers against the Hornets. They're having Edey in the paint. He's playing a 2-man game with Ja Morant. He's cleaning up Ja's misses when Ja drives to the basket and draws the defense. This is the Steven Adams / Jonas Valanciunas play. Also, Ja is finding him some beautiful tic-tac-toe passing in this one to hook Edey up. Edey makes all 7 of his 2-point field goals in this game on his way to those 17 points. So Edey has been playing awesome basketball, even with maybe some turnover issues, some hands issues, and also settling for hooks at times. But this run of play right now for Zach Edey, absolutely super. The numbers for Ja, they are not as clear to me as far as a pre-Isalo and, since he became interim head coach. Like under Tomasi Salo, Ja Morant is averaging 28.4 points per game. That's in 5 games that he's appeared in. The Grizzlies are 2-3 in those games. You might say, hey, there we go. That's the Ja Morant that we expected. That's way up from his season average. Yes, but also his scoring averages were already way up before Taylor Jenkins was fired. In the 5 games right before Taylor Jenkins was fired, Ja was averaging 32.8 points per game. They went 4-1 in that stretch when Ja played against a very soft schedule, admittedly. In the 16 games since the All-Star break, Ja's averaging 27.5 points per game. That includes the last 5 under Isalo. The Grizzlies are 8-8 when Ja plays since the All-Star break. They're 3-6 when he doesn't play. So Ja's scoring, but his scoring was already going up before they made the coaching switch. So I don't know how much of that is related. Also, I think you have to point to the opponents. We still haven't really beaten good teams. The win over the Pistons, of course, the first win over a team that's currently over 500 since early February. Right now, you're winning games against bad teams, and still the question remains, can you handle business against the good teams? And you have games against good teams, huge games coming up this week. You play the Timberwolves on national TV on Thursday. The Timberwolves blew a 20-point lead against the Bucks on Tuesday night, a huge result for the Grizzlies. Right now, the Grizzlies are in 7th with the Timberwolves in 8th. The Grizzlies were briefly in 5th because they played first. Unfortunately, the Clippers won on Tuesday night. Also, the Warriors won by a lot on Tuesday night. So right now there's a 4-way tie for the teams that are 47-32. The Nuggets, the Clippers, the Warriors, and the Grizzlies. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves are a game behind at 46-33. The Grizzlies in that 4-way tiebreaker are last. But the next 2 games could not be more important. You play the Timberwolves on Thursday and then the Nuggets on Friday. And how about the Nuggets firing Mike Malone? Mike Malone and Taylor Jenkins both fired with less than 10 games to go before the playoffs. They were the 4th and 5th longest tenured coaches in the NBA. Both franchises choosing to move on. Both of these moves are shocking. The question I ask, the Nuggets is the same one I asked the Grizzlies. Like, do you really think you have a better chance of winning a playoff series by firing your coach? Maybe the Grizzlies do. Maybe you say the utilization of Zach Edey proves we would be better off without Taylor Jenkins. The rawness, the inexperience, it's worth it because we're finally using the roster maybe the way Zach Kleiman intended. And that's also what I think about with the Grizzlies situation. Was the firing of Taylor Jenkins more about like, hey, man, you benched Zach Edey. No. I, Zach Kleiman, want more Zach Edey minutes. I don't know. But the Nuggets, like, you're going with someone unproven instead of your championship-winning coach? Like, for me, I thought the Grizzlies were going to lose in the first round regardless. For the Nuggets, feel like they had a good shot in making the conference finals as long as Jamal Murray's healthy. But they made the change, so that's shocking. Anyway, this stretch of games on Thursday and Friday, so important. Of course, there's only 3 games left, and it'll all be decided, of course, in the next few days. A reminder, if the Grizzlies end up in the play-in, that game is Tuesday, April 15th. We will have a watch party at Noble's Beer Hall. If they skip the play-in and end up in the playoffs, of course, we'll have a watch party for game 1 of the playoffs. Some final things, I guess, let me run through the rest of the guys who played against the Hornets. Jaylen only scored 2 points, had 5 rebounds before having to leave with that scary injury. Jaren, not much was asked of Jaren. He had 14 points and 5 rebounds. Desmond Bane just cruised along with 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Scottie Pippen, 10 points. Santi Aldama, 11 points. Vince Williams Jr., good to see him making 2 3-pointers. He was 2 for 5 from the 3-point line. Luke Kennard, another scoreless night. I don't know what's going on with Luke. The Grizzlies absolutely need Luke to score. They're going to be playing a lot of small ball, I think. We're talking a lot of minutes for Luke Kennard, Scottie Pippen to go with Ja Morant and Desmond Bane. And then when they're not doing that, maybe Santi will be the 3. They'll go a little bit bigger with the big front court. Conchar was scoreless in his 11 minutes, joining Luke Kennard with 0s in the scorebook. Then in garbage time, Cam Spencer had 2, J Huff had 3, Lamar Stevens had 3, and Gigi Jackson, 6 points. Marvin Bagley did not score. Anyways, that's all I have time for today. Thank you for listening. Thanks to all the supporters at patreon.com. You guys have a great Wednesday. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.